I kind of want to just give you a little bit of a taste of what it might be like to do either a live event or a more extended virtual event. And so I want to give you one of my favorite writing exercises. So we'll do a brief mindfulness guided meditation, and then I'll talk for a little bit in between then, a little bit about what is this thing, writing is the path to awakening. And then we will go into a writing exercise for about 20 minutes or so. And then we're going to have some time to share via the chat. I'm gonna vote for the chat bar as a place to share, excuse me, rather than the Q&A, because we don't need two. When we have one, it's all one, and we can put it all in the chat bar. And if you don't want to share, that's totally fine. I'm just going to extend that invitation for people who might want to share a little bit of their writing at the end. Normally, that's a important part of the teaching that I do, just people's participation and engagement. Because what I've noticed over the years is that everybody has a creative genius within them. We are born, we're natural creatives. That's who we are as entities, as beings. We are creativity. And I know that some of us, because of our conditioning, we sort of come to writing in particular, but all kinds of creativity with this, a little bit of self-doubt, or maybe a lot of self-doubt, fear, self-recrimination, procrastination, not enoughness. And this book, Writing as a Path to Awakening, is all about just getting rid of that and transcending that mostly through the practice of mindfulness meditation. And any contemplative mindful practice, be that mindful movement and yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, these kinds of things, can help transcend that chatty monkey mind that tends to keep us separate from our creative genius. And actually, as a matter of fact, I bring, that's not the way I wanted to begin that sentence. The book begins with this premise of trying to dispel the false premise of somehow thinking that we don't have a connection, or we don't have availability to our creative genius. And, you know, a lot of people feel like that word genius is a little intense, it's a charged word, you know, that there are certain geniuses out there in the world, be them, you know, physicists like Albert Einstein, or great poets like Emily Dickinson, or whoever. You know, we all have our geniuses, our muses in the world. And yet, are they that different from us, ultimately? Are they that different from us? And when we really look inside, and we're able to transcend a lot of the chittery, chatty noise in our head that keeps us from our creativity, we can find brilliance in the moment. We can find it just streaming through us. We can enter actually that great stream of creativity that is truth. And so I want to explore that a little bit with you all today. And so welcome once again. I'm so glad you're here. I'm super grateful that you're taking the time to be with me. And I know that it is I don't take it lightly, because you have things to do, you have families to be with, you have your own writing to do. And so I'm honored that you're here. And I think before I chatter on too much, why don't we just sit together, and we'll kind of set our intentions for the hour, and take it from there. So wherever you are, I'm going to invite you to find a way to sit comfortably and at ease. And you can, if you have a pen or a notebook handy, you can just put that aside for the moment while we do this meditation. And allow yourself to settle into a comfortable position. Not too cozy. You want to be also upright and allowing the energy to flow through you. We don't want to constrict that energy by having our shoulders hunched or kind of crouching over too much. but take care of yourself. You can sit in a chair or on a cushion, whatever's good for you. And we can begin with a single deep breath inward through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. And just finding your center with that exhale, finding your ground of breathing. After that initial first breath inward, no need to modulate the breathing, no need to control it. Just sort of sensing into it. Sensing into your experience of the breathing body. Becoming curious, becoming awake, letting your eyes close gently, letting your shoulders drop, letting your hands rest easily. Letting your belly be soft to receive whatever arises in this moment with an open, loving heart of curiosity, compassion, and loving kindness. There's really nothing to do right now. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to get right or to understand. There's nothing to fix or manage. We're just gathered here together virtually from all over the world, connecting through common intention with our awareness focused inward, curious and awake, alert to the stirrings of our deepest selves. Simply breath in and breath out. Now, after a minute or two, you might notice your mind beginning to wander, which is simply what minds do. Minds like to think things, fantasize and project, imagine, dream, remember. That's simply what minds do. Not a problem. We can just take this opportunity with the sound of my voice to reconnect with the breathing body. Bring our attention, our awareness back to this moment. The rise and fall of your chest or belly. Sensation of wind at your nostrils. Just allowing yourself to feel a few breaths right here in the center of your experience. With each exhale, allowing yourself to settle a little more deeply, to let go a little more deeply into that field of creativity, that field of compassion and loving kindness. And again, with the sound of my voice and with the sound of the bell, bring your awareness back to the present moment, back to that resonance of awakening through the magic of the breathing body. So listen to the full sound of the bell. And as it's makes its way back into silence, you can open your eyes and come back to your computers. So again, welcome everybody. Welcome back from wherever your meditation took you. And it's so funny not to see anybody, to be on a webinar. I trust you're there. I feel your presence and am feeling blessed by it. And I want to thank Jacob and Banyen again. And I love that beginning offering around place, the importance of place, and whose place is this? Where the place where the bookstore is located, the place where I am, you know, which we call Marin County, Northern California. The original inhabitants of this place are the Miwok people. And so we can also honor them in this time and always. So I want to begin with a poem that really gets at the heart of writing as a path to awakening. And the awakening part is both the silence, the emptiness, the welcoming in of creativity, the surrendering back into the creative field. And it's also that using attentive, open mind to awaken to our creative potential through language. That's really what we're talking about, communicating the truth of our experience in whatever way we can. Some of us, that's through poetry. Some of us, that's through novel writing or fiction, storytelling. Some of us, that's through writing for television or for screen. Some of us, that's writing blog posts and articles. Whatever that gateway is for you, to celebrate that, to devote yourself to truth, to the best of your ability at any given moment. And writing is ultimately a metaphor for any kind of creative expression. It could be dance, it could be painting, sculpture, drawing, entrepreneurship, whatever it is that is the creative act where you're bringing your light to the world. That's ultimately what this is about. And one of my premises at the beginning of the book, there's this beginning part that's called premise, promise, and precepts. And I love the concept of precepts, not in that sort of doctrinal, controlling way, like you should do this or else, you know, the wrathful deities or the lightning bolt from God will strike you down. But no, like this is an invitation. This is an entryway into practicing certain behaviors. And if you do these things, abstain from some and lean in towards others, amazing things will happen. Things will open up in your consciousness and your awareness. And that's really the heart of a good precept, I think. Non-harming, for example. Like what happens if you don't harm anything, right? It seems so basic. And yet, for some people, it seems rather challenging. And some of that comes from conditioning. Anyways, the ninth little invitational precept that I wrote in the beginning of Writing His Path to Awakening is self-study, to study the self, to try and figure out, not figure out so much, but to understand what is this self, this thing that we call a self, this thing that I call a self, Albert, writer, teacher, meditation practitioner, mountain biker, or what, you know, whatever whatever it is that, however I define myself, which is, in terms of just how do I navigating this immediate world, also known as the little me in my head, which is, I think, what Eckhart Tolle calls it, the little me in my head, which is a useful little me to get through the world, as it were. But there's more to us, isn't there? There's more to this self. And so a poem. To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. To be enlightened by all things is to remove the barrier between self and other. Now, no trace of enlightenment, though enlightenment continues in daily life endlessly. To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. What? You just told me to study the self, and now you're telling me to forget the self? What's that about? To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things, because we're not sort of self-absorbed, right? We're not completely consumed by our own emotional experience, our own needs, our own desires, our own fears, etc. When we see the self as bigger, we can attend to others with love and with compassion and with caring, as if they were ourselves. That's awakening, right? And it's not total, I don't think, this is written by Dogen, by the way, in the 13th century. I don't think he was referring to like total self, what's the word? Self-abandonment, necessarily, that you totally becomes absolutely selfless, because there's also an element of self that one wants to retain for their own capacities, for their own health and wellness. If you give too much away, what's left for you to be in terms of a model and guide of creativity or of healing or whatever it is that is your gift to the world. So I hope that makes sense. And now no trace of enlightenment, though enlightenment continues in daily life endlessly. Here we are in daily life in front of our computers. Enlightenment is here on Zoom, navigating this new reality. For all of us, we're in this together as a world community, trying to stay safe and healthy through a pandemic, a world pandemic. It's wacky. This is wild that we're all in our little homes, under quarantine, basically. Some places more extensively than others. Here in Northern California, we've been at it for over a month now, pretty intensively. And it seems to be helping quite a bit. And all kinds of beauties are arising out of this restriction. Beauty is everywhere, love is everywhere, kindness is everywhere, creativity is everywhere. So what's the capacity, what's the beauty, what's the potentiality in a time of pandemic? If you think about the times in your own life for a moment, when you grew the most, wasn't it the times of most turmoil, most difficult, most challenge? It's very unpleasant, isn't it? And yet that seems to be the catalyst that sort of knocks us out of our regular habitual conditioning and opens up a new world of possibilities for us. And I'm really feeling that now in my own life. And it makes having this book kind of a really great companion, and the writing practice a great companion. Writing practice is a great companion because we can really reflect on what are we thinking, what are we feeling, what do we want to create in our lives, what do we want to imagine, how do we want to serve the world in this time. These are great questions to be asking ourselves right now and to be writing into them, either literally or metaphorically through a poem, through a story, through a, a television script or a movie script. Whatever way is your gateway, wherever you feel drawn, that's the power of this time. So what is writing as a path to awakening? That's pretty much what it is. I'm going to read you one other little thing about this, and then we'll jump right into the writing exercise. It is April, last time I checked, which is here in America, maybe all over the world, National Poetry Month. And those of you who know me know I'm a huge poetry fan. I got my entry, I gotta learn to speak. My entree into writing through poetry, not through oration. And so poetry is, I call it the language of possibility. Poetry is a great gateway. I like to think of it as the ground of all great writing. And I come back to poetry always. Like right now I'm working on novels, and I come back to poetry to figure out like how to make this story better, how to make each sentence that knits the story together better through the language of poetry that can inform my sentences. Anyways, so here, this is from chapter 4 about, it's kind of a little bit about poetry, but I just want to read this brief little thing to you. And here it goes. The great American poet Carl Sandburg once wrote that poetry is an echo asking a shadow to dance. No, your computer screen is not freezing up. I just wanted to pause there for a second because that's a really weird thing to write. Poetry is an echo asking a shadow to dance. Okay, so just sit with that for a little bit. This definition doesn't really bring us any clearer to an understanding of what poetry is, nor does it make much sense, right? In that traditional logical meaning of the word sense. But is it sensory? Does it spark your imagination? Does it open your heart, your mind, your bodily awareness? Does it trigger a hunger for deeper exploration? As intellectual, ego-driven humans, we want to figure it out. We want to know what things mean. What could Sandburg's definition possibly mean? And maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe it doesn't really mean anything. And that's precisely the point. We can't do anything with it. We can't buy it or sell it. We can't even figure it out. It's simply strange and beautiful. It incites a kind of urgent curiosity and wonder. It sparks the miracle of the imagination in this moment, which then becomes a moment of mystery and possibility. And this is the power of poetry to incite awe and wonder, to inspire great writing. Now let's take this a little further. What if we replace that word poetry in Sandburg's definition with the word I, as in, I am an echo asking a shadow to dance? Trippy. Doing so, we become an agent of energy and information. We become an object of curiosity and wonder, a generator of imagination and possibility. This is the role of poetry and all writing, to serve as the conduit for an evolutionary and inspirational consciousness. This is writing as a path to awakening. And we need your inspirational consciousness right now. That's what we need. That's what this is about. It's about cultivating that within us. Somebody else isn't going to do it. Somebody else is not better than you. It's just a question of attention, ultimately. And I found this over and over again when I was working with kids as a California poet in the schools. I used to visit all these classrooms. And I would just come into the classroom and share a little bit about poetry. But mostly I came in curious about the kids and about their world and about their heart and about their minds. And they were not used to that. I gotta tell you, they were just not prepared or used to that. Like, their teachers are trained to impart information. I think the best teachers are there to listen. Now, of course, you do have to impart a certain amount of information, but truly, like, how much time do teachers usually get to listen to their students? Not that much. Anyway, so I would go there and just ask them questions. share a couple of poems that other kids had written. And it was all about writing. It was all about creativity. So here were these second graders, third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, writing the most amazing poetry that you've ever heard in your life. And I have a couple of examples in the book, which you can get at Banyen Books. And I encourage you to do that, to pick up a copy if you are so inclined, but get it at your local community bookstore, get it at Banyen Books. And there's this really super sweet little poem in there called Secrets, which was one of Madeline. I included that poem because it was sort of a model for all poems that I used to see every single week that kids were writing with such beauty, such incredible skill, such inventiveness and imagination. So this is who we are. And what happens, it appears to me, what happens as we grow older and we go through puberty and the sort of our psychology changes and the import of other people's ideas and information and how we're conditioned in our culture, generally in the West, to think logically and to sort of deny certain whimsical or imaginative aspects of ourselves, creative aspects of ourselves, and go for the practicality of like, what's going to keep the machine going, the capitalist machine going, rather than what makes me really happy, what makes me totally feel inspired, like what a novelty. Anyways, these kids would write the most beautiful things, and it reminded me of the truth that is, we all have this inside of us, that we have this potential, and that it somehow gets knocked out of us as we get older. And so my whole mission in life is to bring that back alive. Okay. And so that's what we're going to do right now. So I would love for all of you to go ahead and grab your notebooks and pens. I'm going to guide you through a quick free write here. And what I want to say ahead of time here is this is just, we don't have time, obviously, to get fully into a full writing exercise, but this is an invitation to keep going. We're going to have a few minutes to write and a few minutes to go into this, but the prompt is such that you can really take this and run with it with more time. So I encourage you to carry on with it beyond this, obviously this brief presentation, and to have fun and to tweak and tinker and edit and turn it into whatever you want. Turn it into a 500-page novel if you want, or a TV script or what, or keep it as a little poem, whatever, wherever you're drawn and inclined, okay? So with that, we're going to begin this as a free write, okay? And by free write, I just mean simple stream of consciousness free writing. You don't have to show this to anybody. You don't have to share this. Feel free to be inappropriate, to be true to whatever comes up in the moment, okay? And you're just going to write margin to margin. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about if it's right or if it's wrong or if you're following the exercise correctly. There's no right or wrong in this particular exercise, okay? There's just you just being real and being immediate to the page, okay? Wherever the prompt takes you. If you stray from the prompt, if you don't follow the prompt, totally fine. Okay. So we're going to begin simply that way, by taking a single deep breath inward. Exhaling. And if you would, for just a second here, bring your hand to your heart. Bring your hand to your heart. And just check in for a moment in your heart center. If it helps to turn inward by letting your eyes close gently, you can do that. And just tune in and ask yourself in this moment, what are you feeling right now? What's up for you emotionally in this moment? Is there a particular emotion or feeling streaming through? And is there a word that you would associate with that feeling? Boredom, fear, joy, anger, excitement. What's real for you right in this moment? As you breathe into your heart center, Okay, I want you to open your eyes and write down your word on the top of your page. Okay, I'm going to write down your word on the top of your page. And here's the assignment, and I'm going to time you for a certain number of minutes that will be undisclosed, but the bell will ring, and then you'll stop writing. Between now and that time that I announce the prompt, I want you just, again, to keep going, keep the pen moving. The more true you can stay to this, the better and more interesting this will be for you. Even if it's like uncomfortable and you can't think of anything to say, just write about that. I can't think of what to say. I hate this prompt. Albert's a pain in the butt. What, you know, whatever's going on for you. Be true in the moment, moment to moment, and have some urgency to it. Okay. The invitation is to write a letter to your feeling or your emotion that you just came up with. Your word, however you want to phrase that. But the only thing you have to do is to begin it, dear, whatever your word is. Okay, so dear love, dear fear, dear disjointedness, dear anger, dear whatever it is, okay? And you're gonna write a letter to that feeling and emotion. On your marks, get set, and go, okay? And I'm gonna just prompt you a little bit more as we go along here to keep this interesting. So this is a letter to your feeling or emotion. However you want to define letter, okay? Feel free to be in conversation with this emotion, to describe what this emotion looks like, what this emotion tastes like, what it smells like. Bring your sensory experience into this word, into this feeling. Think about what it's made of. Is it made of sticky tar? Is it made of aluminum foil? Is it made of tea leaves? Like, bring material, bring specific information into describing this feeling. Bring color, bring shape, bring material. And let your imagination run wild, and I will shut up. And I'll check back in with you in a few minutes with the bell. Okay, there is the bell. And if you are on a tear, just feel free to keep writing and just keep going with this. I'm just going to interrupt just because, in looking at the time, we don't have that much time. So I want to make a little bit of time to maybe hear, like, if people, how about this 1 minute? Let's take a minute to reread what you just wrote so far, and if you can identify like one line or sentence, one phrase that just feels kind of bright and interesting to you, just highlight or put a little mark next to it. And then we'll share a couple of these as time allows before we close. And thank you, Lori, for your kind comment, and Claire. Awesome. So just 1 minute to identify a line or a phrase as quickly as you can. Okay, I think that was about a minute. Does anyone want to share a little bit about either about the exercise, maybe just briefly in the chat bar, you can tell me about your experience with the exercise, or if you want to share your line, and what I'll do is I'll read a few of these out loud, because I would love to hear from you. And normally what we do in a longer exercise is we have time in the meeting, of course, we're all there together in the meeting, so people can share. But just in terms of just managing so many participants, it's a little bit easier. So this from Marcy, is it Marcy? You know what, actually, I think I can oh, that's too complicated. Marcy, I'm just gonna, or it's Marcy, M-A-R-Y-S-E, I apologize. Wonderful to be with you all. Thank you, Albert. This writing prompt, oh, it was fun. Awesome, thank you for that. Sally is saying, impatience is robbing me of what I want, but obviously there are other things competing for my attention. Phone going off, microwave going off, husband talking, yes. This is like, thank you for mentioning that, Sally, because it's true, like, right, we have so many things going on. We might be in a smaller space. Oh, if you have a hand up, yeah, maybe we can hear voices. Okay, let's try that. Meredith, I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Meredith. Okay, we're getting the hang of this. Do you have a line to share, or do you want to share briefly, really quick, about your experience?
The whole thing is fairly brief. So when I checked in, actually my belly and heart, it was, I saw an image of a little animal digging, trying to get out. And
wow.
Yeah. So shall I read the whole thing? It's like a few pages, not pages.
Just read a line. Just read a line or a sentence if you have.
Okay. So I think the part that stands out is, wow. Are you sleeping now? Your eyes are closed and you're smiling, belly up and stretched out. What is there to say?
Awesome. Beautiful. So a question, you know, posing a question in writing is so strong, right? And just, I love this idea of the animal within you. That is just lovely. And just thinking about that, like an animal burrowing in your heart. I mean, what a cool idea. What a cool concept.
A little being wanting to get out.
Yeah, right. To express, to share.
Well,
thank you so much.
When I connected, I'll just be really quick and say, yeah. I don't think it wants to get out. I think it wants to be with.
Well, to be with. Okay.
Yeah, me.
Beautiful. Yeah.
To start with. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, in cohabitation or co-expression or whatever. Beautiful. Thank you. I'm just going to read some of these as the time is just going so going by so fast. This from Is that Allah McQueen? Take the scissors and let go so you do not have to hold me anymore. I set myself free. Awesome. I wrote to grief, Claire wrote to grief. Interesting how you show up as if you're meant to be painful, yet with you comes a sense perhaps of relief. Beautiful. Yes, just to be in conversation with these emotions can be so healing and so powerful. And even more so when you bring in those details, when you bring in those, like bring in the animal energy, the animal spirit to carry your metaphors and your feelings along. Super powerful. A warm embrace of red-rooted joy, a fuzzy glow of sunset love. Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. That's great. From Cami, I want to be able to come back to this place of no rough edges. It has escaped me most of my life. Yeah, right? Coming back to this place. The invitation is always here to come back to that place. Let's see who else. Like a golden dawn bringing a matrix on the clouds, open door of unique dreams. Wow, I love that. Am I pronouncing Gulton properly? I love that. Thank you. Olina, sharing my one line. You are the gardener and the cultivator, the weeder, and ultimately the creator. Yes, yes. Affirmation, right? So writing can be affirmation, reminder, insight, beauty. Just scrolling through here. You are red and spiky like a fish lure stuck in my heart. Wow, thank you, Paula. Yeah, so just getting right into those visceral, specific qualities. One of the things that we notice, and I talk about this a lot in my writing exercises, my writing retreats and workshops, is the importance and power of specificity, your unique details, how you see the world. And Paula, that's a really beautiful example. Maybe one or two more here. To be close to you, to be near death. I breathe in and out after each delicious inhale, a tiny magic death when I drop into you. Wow, that's awesome. From Janice. Thank you, Janice. And I love how you included those slashes to indicate that those might be a line break. That's a classic way that we can break up lines in a poem. So sometimes a poem comes out, sometimes a little mini story, sometimes a conversation. Okay, one more here. This from Beatty, I'm sorry, not pronouncing your name right. Apprehension was my word. You are light like a gentle touch, strong like a bull, lodged deeply. Awesome. These are great. These are fantastic. I'm just looking at the time, everyone, and I want to close here with a couple of reminders. The most important thing is resources. I want to share with you some resources and opportunity to keep going with this. Every week, I'm doing 2 free classes online here on Zoom. You are absolutely welcome to join us, totally free. And it's Friday is the writing workshop, where we go for a full hour like this and we just dive right into the writing. It's a free write journaling class. We just jump right in. Then we spend like the last 20 minutes sharing and connecting with each other. And it's set up as a meeting. So it feels a little bit more interactive. And when we do this again, I hope that we can do this again. We'll do it that way. I'm going to probably have to open up my limitations on Zoom are 100 people, which thank you for pushing the envelope here. And I want to thank you also for your sharing here. Oh my God, all these new messages. This is so awesome. Thank you, thank you. I wish we had more time for this. So there's the Friday class, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock every Friday morning. This is West Coast time. So that's most of you on the West Coast. And then Wednesday is exclusively a meditation class. And I tried to combine them, but there wasn't enough time. So exclusively meditation on Wednesdays. and then exclusively writing on Fridays. I also have a couple of upcoming classes where we go really deep. Those are longer actual paid classes. You're welcome to join me for those. I have a memoir class if people are interested in memoir on May 9th. And then on the 23rd, we're going to focus on poetry. And I'm trying to make these as accessible and low cost as possible. And so you're welcome to check all that stuff out on my website, albertflynndesilver.com. There are links there to the Zoom links so that you can attend that way if you're interested. And I am just so blown away and honored. Oh, look at here's from Olivia. Dear gratitude, I see you in the obscure depths when it's the negative space around you that defines you, the shape of your presence. These are awesome. Just being able to connect and communicate with this state, this emotional state, this is what charges the world. This is what brings us alive and connected to each other. And we need your voice in this time. We need your words of positivity, of inspiration, of positive spirituality. This is what's going to shift the dynamic around this pandemic and the dynamic around confused politics all over the world. Don't get me started. And so I want to sign off here. It's exactly 12 o'clock. I want to sign off with a blessing of love and kindness and gratitude. I'm so super grateful that you have shown up in this way. I'm just overwhelmed by all these comments. There's dozens and dozens of comments. I can't even keep up with them. I can't wait to read some of them after here. I want to respect your time. Jacob, I don't know if there's anything else you need to say before we sign off.
No, just thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Yeah, this is so cool. I'm having so much fun. I'm just totally, again, blown away by everyone's generosity, willingness to share and participate. And let's do it again. Let's keep the conversation going. I want to make these available, these classes available to people. So you're welcome to join me. And let's continue the conversation. Thanks so much again. Banyen Books, buy your books. Buy your books at Banyen Books. Here's the memoir, which that's the back page. You can get, I think, both of them there. And again, sending everybody lots of love, many blessings for health and wellness. Let's keep the conversation going. Join me on Fridays and on Wednesdays. And till next time, live well, love well, write well. And I can't wait to read more of your comments and stay connected.